productive class because our students would know who we were and where we came from. We wouldn't have to incorporate that each time we taught them, especially if they missed the first class, because I think 10% of the minimum does. I think they conspire to rotate to see who misses the first class. But let me do this. Let me give you an abbreviated version of where I'm coming from, and then I'd like to get a sampling of where you're coming from, if that's all right. I currently teach at MTSU full-time, had some adjunct work at Austin Peay part-time, actually where I spent my time, and my hero is here in the classroom, Samantha Penny. Please raise your hand, Samantha. Samantha's my hero because when I first started teaching at Austin Peay, I learned that they had this IT section of people that help people who teach. And I had some IT experience. I've always had an AIM address. I never had AOL, but my mother did, so I got exposed to it. But I was interested in technology early on, and I realized that there was this teaching technology convergence, and I said, well, how do I find out about that? And everybody I talked to said, well, you got to get with Samantha Penny. The first thing she did, just to show you how much a newbie I was looking over her shoulder at the blackboard, and I said, you know, Samantha, when you get to be over 40, your eyes start doing crazy things, and you have to squint. And she said, oh, no problem, goes up and changes the text, and it's like, readable. I said, whoa, and I know how to do that. Don't get me wrong, but taking that to a perspective using the online classroom management system was phenomenal for me. And hopefully my students still email you whenever they get the tips and tricks. And
they do.
Yeah, okay. Because I give them the same tip, and I say, if it helps you, tell Samantha thanks. Anyway, I've taught both online and face-to-face. I prefer hybrid. If I have to teach anywhere, I like to teach everywhere, if that makes sense. And that's basically where I come from. I spent many years in the military, so I come from the training environment, okay? I'm bringing training practices to education, but I'm solidly grounded in education. That's important, right? So that's as fast as I'll go in my abbreviated version. Who else can contribute to a get-to-know-you icebreaker session? Can we start here? Ma'am?
My name is Jamie. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I am an instructional designer and technology specialist.
Great.
I work at a private Catholic university, and we have a center for teaching and learning where the faculty come to us for help to integrate technology in their classroom.
Nice.
And for their online courses as well.
Nice. Thank you, Jamie. Who else?
Since you started,
yes.
Samantha Penny. I'm an instructional technologist at Austin Peay State University, and I work in the distance education portion of the school, and specifically help faculty with their online courses or face-to-face or hybrid.
Good. Who else?
Hello. My name is Lauren Keys. I'm a technology project manager for Wadsworth Publishing, Thompson Wadsworth. So I make technology products for students.
Excellent. How many professors here? How many professors that teach criminal justice? It's nice to have a few similarities, and what I'm going to be doing in the presentation is also what I do in my classrooms, and just kind of get a feel for it. And yeah, you can roll dice and say who's going to go next. I like just seeing who wants to volunteer, and then telling them it's nice to do that periodically. I titled it "When in Rome," and then I had to do some research. And I'll let you read the research. You got the citation. You can see where it goes. But "When in Rome" has evolved from "When I am at Rome, I fast on a Saturday. When I'm at Milan, I do not. Follow the custom of the church where you are." It's evolved to "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." Little known bits of useless information. Let's take it to the 21st century. This is the message I'm talking about. This is what I'm trying to this is what I hope you'll be able to take away from here, is when we're teaching those who came here to learn, why not teach the way they learn, not the way they want to learn. I have teenagers, I know what that's about. The way they learn, okay? That's my focus. And anything that I don't have handouts, but I have a PDA that I can IR it to you. Or if you have a thumb drive, I've got a computer. Or if you have an email address and need mine, it's cfsmith@mtsu. Shoot me an email. I'll respond with it. I'll probably post it on the website that I have. Because that's what's that little squiggly hyphen thing?
Yeah.
Just making sure you know. CF Smith after www.mtsu.edu. So any way you want this, it's yours. Feel free. And I do have a paper, at least that's what I call it. I've had reviewers that call it something different, but it does have lots of information and lots of references. Why should we do something different? Well, our Roman Empire is growing. Those folks that we're teaching are getting bigger and bigger. Now I see I'm not the only baby boomer in the crowd. They are going to replace us at some point in time. Literally, financially, etc. So that's the main reason. We are in control now, and if they don't like it, they'll get over it. But at some point in time, we might as well make friends with them because they're going to run the world. I'm thinking 15 years is how long we have to do right by the Romans. I think anything longer than that, we're pushing it. And if we can do it right now, I had a friend of mine who told me once, do it once, do it right, never have to do it again. They won't need to go into therapy or training because we didn't teach them right. They won't hate us forever because we didn't show them the right way to do it. So what should we do differently? We like to look at these folks and say, okay, this is what they like now. Let's reinvent the wheel and put up something just like it. Have you ever gone through a software implementation that was just like what they use? So it's got to work, right? It's a nightmare from a user experience. A nightmare. I've done that with the federal government. I'm doing it with the state government. I got to go get a job in local government after this because I know it just. Why would you use something off the shelf? That would make too much sense. We would have customer support we didn't have to pay for. I'm sorry, your tax dollars hard at work. But let's use things that they already have. They have a preference for certain things. Let's find out what they are. I'm not going to be able to show you all of them today because I don't know what all they are, and it may change today, but it won't change radically the methods that I want to share with you. I had to put that on the bottom. I hope the bottom doesn't affect anybody negatively, but I like to teach to provoke thought. The alternative to that is the head nod, even at 9 o'clock in the morning after coffee. And when I see that, it's time for me to either speed up or get their attention or, are you in the right class? Because I hopefully am not doing that. So what are we doing now, and is it working? I will say there's a tongue-in-cheek to a lot of this. So I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm not the be-all and end-all. I don't know everything. I'm trying to, if I could, without getting in front of the screen, and I've learned you don't cut in front of that. You hop over the table. If you want to get on the same side of the podium with folks, y'all do that. I'm on your side of the podium. I'm saying we, okay, not y'all. This is Tennessee. For those of you not from Tennessee, that means you all. But we've been doing it this way for years. Who teaches the way? You don't raise your hand, you might embarrass yourself. Who teaches the way they learned? And why? And is that the reason? It's something we're familiar with. Well, it worked with me. Do you parent the way you were parented? Well, yeah. Swore I wouldn't, but sure do. So let's find out what their method is. And let's get to them through their method. I'm not talking about lowering standards. I'm talking about communicating with them in their language, at their level. Here's the example. Have you ever been to a foreign country? You can show hands on this one. Okay. Have you ever gone there and you didn't speak the language? And so what do? Right? Taxi driver says something that's incomprehensible and you say, "Do you take American dollars?" And he says something else that's incomprehensible. "I have American dollars. I don't have whatever money you..." Right? What are we doing? We're loud and slow. How does that work in a classroom? It's the same thought process, right? What are you saying to the taxi driver? "I'm not smart enough to learn your language." It's either that or "I'm not considerate enough." We'll pick one. It's the same in reverse. If they come to our country and we want to provide them a service, we have to learn to speak their language. Right? Romans have their own language. Let's figure out what it is. Okay, so what do they do today? Been my observation that most of them have had an online presence since birth. They've been called digital natives. We, thankfully, weren't called digital foreigners, because that's got a negative connotation. We were called digital, anybody know? Immigrants, right? Now, isn't that kind of reversing what we're looking at? Wait, we were here first. Oh, no. They integrate technology into their lives. If you don't believe that, watch them walk. Who has a no cell phone policy in their classrooms? Do you know they do it anyway? I polled, this is cool. I teach an ethics and criminal justice class. And I've already figured out, no, this was the first, I'm taking you through the sequence of events. I was doing an informal sampling of communication methods, which I'll share with you if we have some time a little bit later. I was doing an informal, and I was passing out, I hadn't got it tallied yet. So I was just wondering, I said, let me give you an example. I don't remember what we were talking about in the ethics, in the context of ethics. But I said, I reminded them of where we were, so I got some really serious answers. We're in an ethics and criminal justice class, and I know that one of the methods of communication that students today prefer is cell phone text messaging. Oh, wait, I got a message. How many of you, during class session, have sent or received a text message on your cell phone? And they've never been asked that question again, or ever before. More than half. And I think the other half were lying. Or at least half of the other half. More than half. Now this informal survey that I did, more than half of them prefer that. Why would you do anything else? Now the other key is they use another technology to send messages to their cell phone, but we'll go there here in a minute. So they integrate it into their lives, and they use what's called social networking sites. If that term is unfamiliar to you, that's okay. It won't be in about 5 seconds. Social networking sites are known as MySpace, are known as Facebook, are known as Bebo, are known as... one just got started up 5 seconds ago. Don't worry about it. Social networking is what we've been doing our whole lives. Social networking is what we did in college. We just didn't do it nearly as rapidly, and we didn't do it nearly as openly, and we didn't put our cell phone numbers on the internet. And I think we're mostly in agreement in higher ed that they are reached better by active learning methods and similar. And I won't hone in on that as a term necessarily, but interactive, right? Collaborative, all these buzzwords of today is what I'm talking about. But they need to hone their collaborative skills. Who's ever worked with groups or teams in the classroom? And you announce it or they read the syllabus, and what do? They groan, right? But wait, that's how they learn best. Yeah, it doesn't mean they like it. Because the way we implement it is a penalty to them, isn't it? Especially the triple type A personality, got to get it done, make it happen. Oh, you people are too slow for me. I sent you an email 5 seconds ago with something for you to review. Why didn't you send it back to me already? Right? I can't stand these people. Well, then you're learning leadership and collaboration. How cool is this? Now you see what I get to deal with on a daily basis. Right? So they need to hone their collaborative skills. How do we do it better? We like learning, I think. Most of us like one-way learning, don't we? That's back to the how did we learn? How many times do we recall interaction in our version of higher ed in a previous life? Was there class of 200? Raise your hand. No. Number 37, what do you say about that? If you're lucky, you get called on. If there were smaller groups, yeah, perhaps there's some interaction, but wasn't it mostly one way? Isn't that how we like to teach? Nod your head so it's a two-way communication. Okay, good. They love two-way. They get bored. They get diagnosed wrong if they're not engaged in two-way conversation. Because they have to sit in class. I've got a 14 and a 16-year-old. Do you know what it would be like for them not to be able to have two-way communication for an entire hour? I don't either. I'm not inclined to find out. My house might blow up. My suspicions are that only if we find ways to engage in two-way communication can we do what I think we're called to do. And that's catalyze their learning environment and experience. So which one should we use? Who's got a preference? If I said text or voice, who prefers text? I didn't explain it, but that's okay. All right, text or voice? Whose voice? Who refuses to vote, or I missed a third option? Here's the thing. You can use written, also known as text, You can use email, and this is kind of how they've evolved too, coincidentally. Email, instant messaging, message boards, text messages. You can use verbal, you can use phone calls or face-to-face communication. And I think it all depends on which they prefer. You can't. Huh?
You didn't give us a comment.
Could raise your hand in both. That's a good point. Good point. Because that's where they are. They are preceding our acknowledgement of the convergence of communication. Right? They will send, if they're able to physically, they will send a text message while they're talking on a telephone and cooking dinner. No, they're microwaving something. That's not really cooking. And right, while updating their MySpace. How do we know it'll work? Don't know it'll work because I said so. Ask them. If you have a class that you haven't interacted with in this way, just ask them. And put the burden somewhere else if you're more comfortable with that. It's a challenge. I'm just veiling it a little bit. In your next class, say, look, I listened to this moron talk to me about this Facebook, MySpace, convergence, whatever. I don't know what he was talking about. You guys don't have a Facebook, do you? Or ask them, hey, how would you rather be able to talk in class? And I know just coming here is an indicator that we all do. Part of what I want, part of what I like to do, part of the reason that you can have anything I bring here is you can tailor it for your own good and send it out there to the people who didn't even know this conference exists. Feel free. Fair game. Open season. Credit, no credit. I don't care. There's poison out there that says we don't need to learn this stuff. This is, by God, how I learned it, and that's how they'll learn it. And I personally think that our universities, as we know them today, will crumble if we keep that mentality. I've spent time in that for-profit university thing. They may not have the quality of education we do, but they're still killing it. When the University of Phoenix can be approaching 500,000 students, they're doing something right. Adult learning 5-week and 6-week programs are not. We can complain about it all we want, or we can challenge it head on. Try it. Take what I show you today, and I'll give you this challenge. I have in my material my cell phone. I'll give it to you now, if you'd like. If you want to write it down, I'm stalling so you can get a pen if you'd like. But feel free to call me, and this weekend map out some time during daylight. That's the only challenge I ask you. Map out some time to check this stuff out. And if or when you have a challenge implementing it or finding out more about it, I'll tell you the same thing I tell my students. If it's important enough for you to call me, then do so. And I've got two options. I can answer the phone or I can not answer the phone. But I will always talk to you because I return phone calls fairly quickly. I've been told that I'm insane to hand out my cell phone to so many people, but I don't lose sleep. And you don't have to come to me 3 days from now and say, hey, remember you were talking about such and such about, 15 minutes into the presentation, I need to ask you about it. No, do it now. Saturday, Sunday, Friday, this afternoon, doesn't matter. I drive from here to Franklin on a daily basis. I need somebody to talk to. Please call. It's in the 615 area code. My cell phone number is 424-8375. I promise you, 424-8375. If you check out any of this stuff and you get lost in the middle of it, call me. I'll walk you through it, even if I don't have a computer in front of me. And then test it out. Try a couple things I suggest. Don't take my word for it. Lord knows my experience level isn't near what it should be or could be. But what do you got to lose? And you'll get cool points. Y'all know what those are? It's like the stars we used to get in high school or elementary school, They're cool points. If you don't know what that is, ask your students that too. Our Roman culture, at least here in Middle Tennessee, includes lots of things, and these are old school terminology. I'm not even getting into the new stuff, right? Their average day is not unlike ours, school, but our school is work. And then friends, because we have plenty of time for that when we're teaching. And they find time, and technology helps them find time. And that's the paradigm shift, I think, is that we say, I don't have time for friends because I'm busy working. They say, I have time for friends because I've got an account here, and I do this, and I multitask like I'm on steroids, and all this good stuff. They just crank it out, right? They fit more than 24 hours into a day. They crank out more than 168 hours in a week because they make it happen. It's just that way to them. Their relationships aren't just online. Do you remember about 5 years? No, it was 99 era. There were some predictions that all this online stuff, everybody's going to be stuck in a closet and they're not going to be talking to anybody. They're not going to be social. And oh my, the end of the world is coming. How's that working for you? It's an extension of our lives. It's not a replacement. In fact, what you'll see is if you have some of these social networking sites, it actually saves time. One of the things that I'll show you at the end is my Facebook and my MySpace and another program called LinkedIn, which is MySpace for adults. Business adults. It's been called the other thing. I just figured I'd throw that in there. But I don't have to tell you a lot about me if you know where my site is. That's what we do in Rome, right? We say, and kids out there are introducing themselves by first and last name.
You're suggesting the social networks, but really just to get them to know each other and build a community,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're not really suggesting to use it for academic
Oh, no, that's taboo.
They don't want that.
No, that's invading their space. No, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. No, that's why we have desire to learn.
We were wondering that.
I have a screenshot of a very small portion of desire to learn. This is external stuff. This is FaceTime with the students. Voice activated. Next slide. All right, we're going to go 2 in a row here. There we go. All right, so what does it cost? That's the other cool thing about teaching with technology. You notice nobody got impatient while I was waiting for the computer. Isn't that neat? I can have a glitch in the classroom and my students won't say, "Oh, come on, boo, boo." Now, hold on, we'll figure this out. Just kind of take it in stride. It's a whole lot better than it was when we first started. It depends on where you are now, where you want to be. It's going to take added time. This isn't going to be something you can hire out. You got to learn on your own. You got to be able to communicate in some of the languages. I wouldn't recommend doing it overnight. I would make sure that some of your students know that you're going through it. I'm trying to learn Roman. Could you help me? Could you teach me a couple of Roman phrases? Roman? What do you mean Roman? Well, your cool language, It's what we do when we go to other countries, right? Of course, many of us learn cuss words. We don't want to do that. But get a couple of them. And I don't know if you want to offer extra points or anything, but they'll get cool points teaching you stuff. What's it cost? Email. Doesn't cost you anything, right? Most of the universities provide free email, relatively speaking. There's also Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail. Need to go on? Lots of them. What's it cost? Access to a social networking site. Nothing. You got to look at Google ads. Well, you don't have to. You get to tune them out. Instant messaging account, if you got an AIM account, MSN, Yahoo, whatever, it's free as well. They don't even ask for your credit card in case you go over your limit. Here's where the cost could factor in. And again, not all these are necessary, but some of my students know that I have a cell phone, and I have my office phone forward to my cell phone because I like one voicemail. So they can send a text message, and I'll reply. It's a lot easier to get it done now. But it depends on your provider. It's anywhere from like a dime to a quarter, unless you get a plan that says free or unlimited or hundreds of minutes or whatever. So I wouldn't recommend necessarily. But here's the bottom line. Communicating with your students. Right? Do we do that enough? Lots of researchers says that's what we need to do. Right? We need to establish communication venues with our students while they're in our classes. Because that way when we say something, they'll actually listen. But for the future, do you not remember at least one of your college professors' names? Probably 1 or 2 or 3 maybe who had a lot of impact. How many of us keep in touch with them if they're still around? Right? That's research says that that's the way we get through. In fact, when we're talking about retention, like you guys were talking about, and a lot of the other have been talking about retention, that's it. Right? Not only are they building community, but they're building relationships with the professors. What do you get? Learning something new. That's really fun for some of us. If it's not, go back to school. Do some postdoc work. Whatever it takes. You will, I promise you, get envious looks from your peers. They won't let you know they're envious, but you'll have students tell them, and they'll start joking about it. Now the students say, we like the way Carter teaches. It's like, get over it. Pretty soon they're going to say, what do you do? I'll show them. Ultimately, it will take less time to communicate more information. Ultimately, your students will realize how it is you present stuff, and they'll get it a whole lot faster. Or they'll send you a message saying, I didn't understand the such and such. Part of what I'm talking about here is incorporating the desire to learn starting in the fall of 2007, incorporating the web-based interaction, the dialogue that goes on there into the classroom. I love blended learning because I don't have to do as much in the classroom except for recreate what we've been talking about since the last class. And if you're teaching a 2 or 3 day a week class, that means your students, unlike traditional classes, are going to actually see the material over the weekend. Because it's mandatory that they go post an answer to my discussion questions. And while they're there, they're going to be thinking about the class. And they'll probably even crack open their book, because in one of the classes, right? I know, knock the dust off, peel the plastic off. But if once a week I can get them in the book between classes, I figure that's a miracle in some classes. And if I say in the discussion question, turn to page 3, I'm not going to give them the rest of that answer. That's a reference. Turn to page 3 and tell me your thoughts on whatever. They can't Google much of that. You'll have the satisfaction ultimately of knowing that you've equipped an entire generation of Romans to take your place in 30 or 40 years. Not that they're currently able to, but they can be if we help them. Because they will rule the world. What's our alternative? Could be dangerous to civilization. Again, some tongue-in-cheek here perhaps, but tell me. How do you do it? Anybody have a Facebook account now? We need to be friends. The more of us there are, the more we can defeat. I did a sampling of MTSU faculty. Who knows how many faculty there are at MTSU? Anybody? How many? How many faculty?
700.
Close. Who else? Closer to 900. Barely 100 have Facebook accounts. Many of those are dormant. What I mean by dormant is they set it up after maybe a talk like this and never went back. That's cool. It's a start. Some of them are graduate teaching assistants. They register as faculty. I'm fine with that. But I'm talking about people who weren't around when the internet went high speed. Very few. That's 12%. Guess how many college students in the first semester in one university sampling have Facebook accounts? Not Facebook or MySpace, just Facebook accounts. How many? Yeah. 85 after day 1. 94 by the end of the first semester. Yeah, it's a virtual business card. For starters. And then you hook up with old friends and you meet new ones. That's why they ask first name and last name. Because you can type in a search for John Smith and then it'll limit it to your network initially. You'll see MTSU if you're at MTSU, you'll see whatever. And then, oh, yeah, that's him. Click, add as a friend. All right? You've seen MySpace, there's Tribe, there's Bebo. LinkedIn is the one I was telling you. This is great for networking. More tech folks are into LinkedIn. Anybody got a LinkedIn account? More tech folks are into LinkedIn, but there's at least, I want to say 20, here's the numbers, it's around 20 MTSU people. Now some of them graduate teaching assistants, some of them graduate students, whatever. What LinkedIn is the phone call for the new job I'm looking for, right? It's referrals for business, primarily. If you do any consulting over the summer when it won't affect your teaching, wink, it would be a good idea, I'm thinking, to develop relationships with people in your line of work or with those who can use your services while it's not summertime. Just a thought. LinkedIn. BitTorrent is a I wouldn't recommend even going there. I was in law enforcement for many years, and you don't even need to tell me about information security. When you open up parts of your computer to the rest of the world, I think we have issues anyway. Make it somebody else's computer. But yeah, anyway, it's a file sharing program. There's a lot of them. Yeah, I just show that so you can see cool colors that have aquamarine or whatever that color is. These two are huge. The video that I played at the beginning is a Google video. It's a beta, but unlike Microsoft, Google's betas don't break. That I'm familiar. I've had Gmail since it was a beta, so. And YouTube, and they are converged now. You can search YouTube videos using Google's video search tool. Try them out in a classroom. I mean, like I did when I came in here, if I get to class early, which isn't that rare, even though some of my students may say otherwise, I'll go there. I may even have some pre-identified videos, and I'll just click it and play it and walk around, do my business, review the last couple pages I missed because I got talking in the office or whatever. Right? They love that stuff, and they'll talk through it if they don't like it, and they'll watch it if they do. And many of them will write down the title, and they'll be posting it on their MySpace by the end of the day. How do you get there? Let's say you do create one of these accounts, or let's say you just want to engage your students in communication in the virtual classroom sanctioned by the state called Desire to Learn. How do you get there? You get to interaction. It's kind of like you walk up to them in the hallway. How do you get to start talking about them? You give them some feedback from a specific event. Hey, I really like the way you were doing whatever in class. Not you did good in class. You know the specifics, right? You've got to say, a really specific event. Address that. Send them a message. If you have a Facebook account, even if they aren't listed on your friends, that's the other thing, is you communicate with students in your university network. They don't have to be an added friend. I've never asked for a friend, and I've got like 50 or 60. I don't remember, because in those three networks, it's in the 50 to 60 range. I have to teach a couple of hundred students, but I know how to get to them. I email, or I copy, paste their first name, last name, send them a message. I've never requested a friend. There's different thought processes on this, but I figure if a teacher asks a student, hey, add me as a friend, first of all, I'm putting my ego on the line, and that won't happen. But second off, it's a little bit of pressure, right? No problem. And I'll tell them, I'm not going to send out friend requests, but if you send me one, I'll accept. Accept. No problem. We can still talk even though you're not. And I'll never lose contact, because you can go to the messages and the history and find out how to talk to them or whatever. All right, so that's one way. Send them feedback. This is like catching them as you're going out of class in the hallway. This is similar to that, right? It's the end of the day. You go there. You say, hey, that was really good what you brought up in class. I appreciate that, how you handled it, whatever. If you have an interactive class, just something similar like that. And you ought to see the look on their eyes when they get the first one from you. I'll show you some of the feedback in a minute. More information. There's only an hour, or an hour and a half, or 3 hours, depending on what kind of class you're teaching. So give them more information. On my Facebook, I put up news links. I put up video links. I did an interview, a television interview one time, and somebody heard about it and said, hey, you got that? So I had to upload it on Google Videos and send them a link. I didn't make it broadcast or advertised. It's a private link, but you can get it from there. And they're like, oh, they're putting stuff on the wall. Oh, man, that's really cool. You told him. That kind of stuff. You can share news on Facebook. You can do it as a bulletin on MySpace, whatever. Or you can do it in Desire to Learn. All right. If they have a birthday, both the primary, Facebook, MySpace, both of them tell you when people's birthdays are, if they want you to. Go to the wall, say, hey, happy birthday. If the Saturday or Sunday, do like I do. Happy birthday, don't come to class today. You always get a post, but gee, thanks. Right, but whatever. Just find reasons. Here's the other thing. If you have certain events, if you're going to something, if you're going to be out Monday and Tuesday of this week, post on there. You can post something that they'll all read. Or you can create an event in both of them and say, hey, we're going to have a guest speaker, such and such, going to be over in the business building, or we're going to meet in a new location, or something like that. Invite friends. Bring it on. All excuses for you to go find some of the people in the class and send them a message. And you'll find as a result of that, they'll want to keep in touch. This is the essence. Use imagination. All right. What do they think? These are copied and pasted. I didn't spell check them, so please get off my back for the proper spelling. This is Roman language in its raw form. These are things that they've either posted or sent me a message about. And there's a lot more, obviously, to the first one. But what does this show? Huh? They remember it after they leave class. Yes! Huh? Isn't that cool? A, they showed up, and B, they retained something after they... Now, I checked the time because I'm kind of skeptical, and I do have a couple students who do bring computers into the classroom, and I checked to make sure it wasn't him saying that in the classroom, because that would be cheating, right? That wouldn't be retention. That would be... Yeah. All right. And this is one... You'll like this scenario. Criminal justice major contemplating it. Anyway, dad's a vice president with some huge corporation and says, you ain't gonna make no money in criminal justice. You want to get into business as a major. And she says, could I minor in criminal justice? I said, you ought to be able to. She said, can we talk? Yeah, okay. So that's a request. That's how Romans request an office call or an office visit. The next one is just, we get that all the time if they think about it, right? The one after that, I'm so glad. I put up something about gangs. It's one of the things I'm interested in, right? I'm a criminal justice guy. Go figure, right? One of my new students in the intro class says, oh man, that's something I'm going to use that in English. I put up a news article and I get that. Now, what do you know that I sent her in the text of a message, right? If you're going to put news articles in papers for English class, make sure it's surrounded by peer-reviewed journals available at library.mtsu.edu, yada, yada, yada. Here's a link to APA. I didn't send all that. I said, hey, get with me after class and I'll help you understand this. Right? And then the bottom one was my favorite. Brand new freshman in the intro class. It's kind of weird, but this is really cool. What she means by about get on our level is, wow, you're learning Roman. So, all right, that's a snapshot of Facebook. I know it's not my best side, but that's okay. I change it about once a week, depending on my mood. All right, kind of stuff you can put. There's a link that you can put a newspaper article up on there. Just all kinds of stuff. This is just a screenshot. It's not a live shot. Here's one of MySpace. My wife loves tigers. She's one of my friends, so I figured I'd impress her. And that's okay to do. You can incorporate your real world into the classroom. This is LinkedIn. Notice no pictures. All right. Who's had enough? Honestly. Had enough? There's a couple of these were on EduCause. You can get the titles, or like I said, they're in the presentation. An actual, completely presentation within. Y'all seen this one? On EduCause, Youth Privacy and Social Networking Technologies. That's my favorite slide. But I've got that embedded if you send it. It's right there on EduCause in its entirety. And then there's this one as well. Really good stuff. It'll kind of augment and see whatever we got here. Let me show you another example. And all these are, like I said, good. Most of these are videos, but this is one. In my crime prevention course, I have the students break up into groups and they groan and all that good stuff. But then one of them is actually a TV something major. So they shot a video, and it's kind of neat. And I, with her permission, put it on this one again in the private setting. So there it is. I could email this to everybody, but it's posted.
Where's the links posted?
Sorry?
Where's the links posted?
I got the PowerPoint, the links that were on there. Shoot me an email. I'll give you the whole PowerPoint. Go back to the page that has links on it. You can cut everything else if you don't want it. That's my presentation. What do you got?
It's that C. Smith ad.
CF. Yeah, there was already a C. Smith when I came along, apparently. CF for Carter Frederick.
We had a discussion, faculty discussion, which I monitored, on a kid sent an email to a math professor, and he kind of got down to the text messaging kind of stuff, and asked what other faculty thought about it. It was rather striking because a lot of them thought it was very rude. They wouldn't even answer it.
Absolutely.
On the stage kind of thing, as
Right.
opposed to getting down to that level.
Right.
And the discussion covered the whole gamut.
Cool.
And of course, the newer faculty were more down to their level, which I noticed.
And I think that's important to recognize that it's a communication thing, but I think only if we have in advance told them what the standard is, can we enforce the standard. In high school, they aren't allowed to communicate with their teachers in most cases. They definitely don't do it like they communicate with us, because they don't want to learn from them. A friend of mine teaches math in high school in Nashville. He said, I'm really envious. He said, why is that? He said, people pay to come see you. People get forced to come see me. Good point. But I think, and here's what I often tell students, okay? APA style doesn't include emoticons. And LOL will never cut it in APA. Right? I even do math. APA not equal to LOL. Right? Emails, let's just put this into context. If you need me to do something out of the ordinary, if you're asking me to excuse you from class on Thursday because you want to go goof off, spell check, grammar check, dear sir, all that stuff, like you were talking to your grandmother or the state trooper doing 75 and a 55. But if you just want to say, hey, thanks, use all the emoticons you want. Instant messaging, all bets are off. I may not even be able to understand it. In fact, this is easy for y'all to, right? See you later. It's really simple, right? You can put that on a license plate. Nobody else will have to pull somebody over and say, what do you mean by that? Right? But there's stuff that we may not get even if they do explain it to us. So I think you have to set the standard. And it's about grooming them for the real world anyway. In the paper, I suggest that we as a university community adopt this wholeheartedly and teach them stuff they wouldn't know. When I use the LinkedIn example, there's others, and there's going to be others, and there's going to be, whatever. But if we teach them experiential learning, right? When we teach them something we have experience with, that's secondary learning, right? Jarvis, don't remember the name of it, it's in my references. Jarvis says, and Knowles says, secondary learning is cool because it's something I can relate you to. It's war stories is what we used to call it, right? And you learn vicariously through my experience. But what works better? Primary learning, right? Here it is. I'm going to watch you in the lab. That's hard to do in criminal justice, by the way. I'm going to watch you in the lab and guide you through your experiments and analysis and all that. But that's how we learn best. Well, if we can anchor what they already know to what we're trying to teach them, that's by default primary learning. I know it's a skip in the logic method, but they know social networking. They have it mastered, right? They know it so much they can probably even read each other's minds to figure out what their address is, After talking to them for a couple minutes, I'll bet your profile says you like such and such on, radio, music choice, whatever, right? They may not be too cool with the podcasting, wikis, and blogs, but let's teach them something more about what they already know. It's instant Roman. Hey, you do Facebook? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've got an account. But I tell you what, when you get ready to graduate, check out my LinkedIn page, or whatever it is that benefits you. What is that doing? Networking. How does that work in the real world, right? Well, let me see. I've got a Murfreesboro police chief. I've got 2 assistant chiefs from Nashville. Oh, the TBI deputy director? Yeah, I've known him for 15 years. He's on my link whatever account, right? Yeah, introduction? Done. Now make sure you don't put any goofiness about you drinking or smoking crack or nothing like that on yours, because he'll check it out, right? And I know these people in State Homeland Security. Oh yeah, I got some of my former students are in Washington, D.C. Why don't you link to them? Oh, you want to work there? No problem. Y'all go ahead and communicate. They're on my Facebook. But show them how to take what they're already doing naturally, which is huge. Did anybody have a social networking thing like this when they were growing up more than 15 years ago? Oh no. We never got taught that either. And if we were, it wasn't in college. Let's teach them stuff that they can use tomorrow using what they use today. It's huge. It's how business runs.
We've got a session tomorrow with Barbara Drought and other
Solid.
colleagues from NTSU that is going to talk about the impediments to bring faculty to try these things. But I wanted to share with you, about 3 Fridays ago, the Learning and Teaching Center here on campus had a faculty development day on active learning, which is what you're talking about. And one of the people in the audience had the audacity in that context to say, why are we going to mess with something that's worked for so many years? It's not broken. Why fix it? It's talking about the one-way method.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we change those minds.
Retirement. No, seriously.
Absolutely right.
You can get online or you can get run over. Favorite saying of mine from 6 years ago. Right? Lead, follow, or get the heck out of the way. 15 years ago. I don't know what it is today. There are some people who will never implement a thing like this. That's okay. Because tenure doesn't outlast life. It doesn't. I checked.
I'm so sure.
All right. Maybe it does.
Aaron, I have a question for you. When you get into the classroom finally with the kids, how's that space changing?
Ubiquitous and convergence being the buzzwords today. Here's what I do. I don't put... Well, I make it a part of life. When I say I like the hybrid form, I refer to online in the classroom. On my syllabus has my MTSU email address and my MTSU office phone number. I tell them. In fact, I demonstrate in class. I need a demonstrator. You have a cell phone number? Yeah. Look on my syllabus. Pretend it's tomorrow evening and you have a question about something in the classroom. How would you go about getting home? Well, I'll send you an email. You need the answer now. What would you do? I'll call your office number, but you won't check that till tomorrow. Try it. And my phone rings, and I'll tell them, now, I won't answer this in class. But if I have time, I will answer the phone. I promise. I'll do that. And if you can't get a hold of me that way, see that MTSU email address or my name? Plug that into Facebook. Send me a text message. I check that once or twice a day, at least once. Plug that in here, and I'll bring it up in conversation. And if I have a special event, I'll put it in there. I'll go to my Facebook, and I will pull a video from there while we're in class and while I'm talking haltingly, but talking nonetheless, so nobody walks away and says, I wish he'd stop doing that stuff, right? And I will go, I've got a friend request. Look at that. Did one of y'all get online while we were talking? And I'll go to my profile, and I'll go down here, and I do this. All these I've posted fairly recently. I put a wide variety of stuff in there. These people couldn't figure out my ideology if they tried. I'm just telling you, and I like it that way. But anyway, let me give you an example. I put the Lazy Cop video up on here, right? And anybody that's added me as a friend can go there and click on this video in the same place we were just moments ago. Actually, it's right there. Sorry, they can see it in the Facebook. Okay? One of the links, if you guys are interested in social networking research in the 21st century, one of the links on there is to a doctoral professor somewhere in North Carolina. And he was about a year and a half ago that he was looking at Facebook. Oh my, it's huge. And he's got a presentation on the, and there's a link on the PowerPoint and everything. But I'll go through there and I'll just show the links. And here's my favorite. Okay, I'll go to my Facebook, right, and I'll go down, which tells them that they can too, right, and they click on here, and I did this with my classes, we were talking about papers, and I thank, anybody from the library? I love y'all. Because here's what I did, and this is on my personal, right? The what's it called again? The squiggly hyphen? Yeah, tilde. See, I did that in class too. C.F. Smith. I put up a trip to the library, and I put a trip to their virtual tour, right? And I'll open a new window. See, I teach students how to do technology too while I'm in the classroom. I talk through it, okay? And you can go here and you can see APA stuff, and then you can go here. Where's the? Let me look. Okay, yeah, this is really neat. Short training tutorial. Da-da, and you go through here and click and click. Oh yeah, and they love this stuff. If it was animated, if he was actually singing, that'd be really cool. But and then I'll even this is a snapshot from Google Maps, right? It's nothing fancy, and I did that with a free program as well. But I'll go and this tells them what I expect of them. Don't Google and think it's research. So I'll incorporate it into that, and then on Facebook I'll refer to stuff in class. But only vaguely. I do more in that pushing out than I do coming back. News articles in one class, all my classes get shared the article. Did that answer your question?
Nope, I asked a bad question. That
Sorry.
was a great answer.
Oh, good.
What I'd really like to know is how does the physical space change when you get engaged with this kind of stuff?
This, for now, just this.
Okay.
I teach in a classroom not dissimilar to this. I wouldn't for the life of me tell them to gather around in a circle. I do have them break up in groups, but they don't travel too much unless it's solid groups, and I do this 4 times a semester in class. Turn to the neighbor, do whatever. But the physicals, I don't dare change them. You got to be kidding me. I teach with some old school professors. Do you know what kind of crap I would get from them if the classroom looked differently when they came in? I'm kidding, kind of.
I know you're not.
Right? But I'm not into the visual physical space yet. I think our kids have enough imagination where we could put them in church and teach them this stuff. I'm talking pews in church. Wooden, immobile, won't move pews in church. Nothing. I mean, just solid wood. Old school. Right? My thought, no research to back that up, just a hunch. But they get really creative. I've taught them in the LRC, huge monster classroom, Peck Halls, and 109 over here with Windows Professional 2000. Anybody teaching 109? Wow. It's like going to a museum.
I just want to let y'all know that there's another session that mentions this, and we go a step further,
Yeah.
talk about Second Life and stuff,
I love
called
it.
Don't Make Me Collaborate.
Yeah.
And it's tomorrow
Yeah.
at 9.
And I won't say anything in that one, I promise.
Oh,
I will
yeah.
be there, though.
You say
Yeah.
all you want to.
Yeah. Cool. Yes?
So I've been reading articles about MySpace, even law journals, law students who are really up at the top, but because someone's written something disparagingly on the social networking sites, and law firms don't even consider them for jobs.
If they have one?
If they would be like, they'll have comments. Another student will comment and say, this is a horrible person. And from that comment, law firms won't hire them.
The person they were commenting on or person making the comment?
The person that they were commenting on.
Interesting. Yeah. Here's what I've seen as the solution. A student just yesterday. I've got them interning with a local quasi-government nonprofit that does intelligence gathering, criminal intelligence gathering. To quickly summarize it, I said, "How's it going in the process?" She said, "I just deleted my MySpace yesterday." Wow. Removing all evidence. Now it is still cached, and I know how all that works. But I know the people she's interviewing with. Not to worry. If she doesn't hand them a web address, they aren't going to find it. But I actually have a JD, so I know how law firms think, and that I agree that would be an issue with the recipient of the bad information. It'd also be a hell of a lawsuit if they're going to depend on that, and I think that's going to be changing in the law as well. If they're going to depend on an anonymously posted or quasi-anonymously posted something not to hire this person, then they've got to give more credibility to it in the first place, and I don't think many of them do. Maybe it isn't. Part of the interaction, part of what I do talk to my students about is, I'm not lurking, right? I don't ask for friends, I'm not checking up on you. You won't see an email saying that's not appropriate, but your employer will. And if you want me to do a free, a non-committed evaluation of your Facebook to see if I'd hire you, no problem. but sign this waiver because I'm going to get ugly. I just have one, that kind of, I'm a little bit crazy on it. But, if you wouldn't wear it in public with your grandma on your arm, you ought not put it on your MySpace. Just a thought.
A lot of my friends do the public and private version.
Yeah.
You do a private one that's hidden, and you
Right.
use an email address that you don't give out to potential employers.
Yeah, that's the other thing is they'll duplicate because they know that's happening. They'll duplicate all their accounts. Now, I've had a Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail forever. I've got of course I was working undercover for part of that, but these 2 and 3 accounts. The dog will have an account, for Pete's sakes. Give me a break.
I have 5.
Right? Yeah, I mean it's easy, and they're free.
I forward them all to one.
Good. All right. Thanks so much for your time.